Okay, so then the next obvious question is what exactly is the agenda? What kind of discussions happen? What are the issues that G20 is talking about?
So, in the beginning, I mentioned that G20 was formed in the aftermath of the Asian financial crisis and then elevated to the leaders level after the global financial crisis 2008. So it's not hard to guess that the most pressing issues that are discussed are economic issues that affect world economies. The G20 initially, at least in the initial years, it largely focused on macroeconomic policy coordination. But over time, several new issues were added to the G20 mandate, and these included topics like international trade, sustainable development, corruption, health, agriculture, energy, environment, climate change, among others. So there is this main summit, just like the summit that we are going to have in New Delhi in the next few days, 9th and 10th of September, main summit, which is attended by the heads of states. But in the run up to this summit involves a series of preparatory meetings and processes where several ministerial and working group meetings take place. Now, these meetings are channeled through two tracks: the finance track, which is which is what you call the legacy track of the G20, the finance track, and the Sherpa track. The Sherpa track is where everything else other than the financial issues are covered. But I'll explain this a little more because I think this is very important. There is this buzz that 200 plus meetings have taken place in India or are scheduled in India through its G20 presidency. What are these all about? So most of these meetings are either finance track meetings or Sherpa track meetings. The finance track meetings are attended by, like I said, the finance ministers, central bank governors of the member states. They come together and deliberate on issues of prominence to the financial sector. The Sherpa track, on the other hand, is led by the Sherpa, which is nominated by each country. This is the Sherpa is called the G20 Sherpa. These meetings focus on non-financial issues covering a range of social, political, and a few economic issues as well, such as international trade, investment, employment, like I said, other issues, agriculture, environment, corruption, etc. Other than these two tracks, I think over the years, the G20 has evolved to have more and more discussions with what they call engagement groups. These are groups which represent communities such as the business community, the civil society, labor groups. Then there's something called Startup 20. So these engagement groups also hold their own meetings, and the discussions that discussions in the finance and the Sherpa track. There's also a role and a very important role for international organizations such as the IMF play a very active role and crucial role in guiding the leaders on various discussions and also in implementing some of the ideas and some of the outcomes which have been discussed in the G20. So this way, I would say that the G20 structure is a very comprehensive one. It literally leaves nobody outside of its, of its uh, sort of purview, because you have everybody participating from the ministers to from the leaders to the ministers to the civil society to businesses and even youth and students now. So there is an engagement group which is called the Youth 20, where students come together. So, you would see that there is a huge change in the way knowledge about G20 has also percolated down when India took over the presidency. I must share this one very funny incident with you where just before India was supposed to assume the presidency, I had an interaction with somebody who had a shop in a busy market in Delhi, and I asked him, "Do you know what G20 is?" He said, "Ha ha, there's this Commonwealth game coming in India. It's some gaming event that's taking place." To now, where most people, or I wouldn't say most people, but an average Indian, you ask him, what G20 is, he'd at least say that ministers are meeting, or they would say that, oh, meetings ho rahe hain, something's coming to our state, international participants are coming, they have meetings. So from sporting event, we have at least started talking about meetings, I think, which is a big sort of win for us. At least we've our an average Indian now knows what G20 is.